But that's what they're selling in the ad. Like they both have messages of doing something different and making America better. They both kind of say that.
Yeah, everyone's saying, hey, we want things to be better. They're both saying the same thing.
One is saying, hey, things are bad now.
Yes.
The other one is not saying that, because that's the whole question, right? Does fear sell, or does aspiration sell?
Does hope sell, or does fear sell? Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Unstoppable Marketer Podcast. With me, as always, is my lovely co-host, Mark Goldhart. It's been a minute since I said that. I feel like we had our 100th episode, and then we traveled, and
we did travel.
We also, just to let everyone know, we tried a podcast episode, and just like we got like 30 minutes into it, and we just weren't feeling it, so we scratched the whole thing.
Yeah, we did. We just said, let's just go home.
Yeah. Yeah, we weren't feeling
it. We can't turn this into anything.
No.
That's called turning your back on sunk cost bias.
Sunk cost bias.
Sometimes
most people
it's better
can't
just
do
to throw it away and
doesn't matter how much time and attention you put into it.
If it's failing,
don't try to make it work.
You can't dress up a turd.
Yeah, you can't make a turd look pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Feels like that's probably a saying that comes from Texas.
Maybe. I want to talk about something. We haven't mentioned this before, but I do want to talk about something pop culturally that has been happening that I'm sure you've noticed, which is in July, they announced, when I say they, there was a TV show series announced on Hulu called The Secret Life of Mormon Wives. Have you seen all this, the scuttle about this? I know this is completely your jam. This is something you would totally be excited about to watch.
I have unfortunately been looped in to the reality TV series. Yeah.
Well, I have
not watched it.
Yeah. No. It's pretty crazy.
I guess for those listening,
Mark does not watch reality TV. I was teasing.
Despise reality TV.
Yeah. And on the flip side,
I have a visceral reaction when I see it. I'm just angry. And any reality TV show, I just get angry.
And on the flip side, I love it.
Yeah.
So I was a big Laguna Beach, Hills, love The Bachelor.
But, okay, here's my question. Reality TV is fake. It's scripted to some degree. I think they take some maybe real plots, but it's not real.
It's curated.
So what is intriguing about it to you? To me, it's no different. It's like the WWE.
Okay.
It's not real wrestling.
No, that's not true. It's not true. So that is scripted.
The WWE?
Yes.
To a large degree, yes.
Yep. A movie is scripted.
You don't think...
TV series are scripted, right? People are memorizing scripts. Now, yes, in WWE, there may be some what do they call it in acting? Where you've
improvisation.
There's probably some improvisation. Hey, for 2 minutes, you got to just
anything.
Yes.
But it's still fake.
But it is scripted and it is fake, okay?
Okay. So do you think in reality TV they're not scripting it? They're not cutting it up?
Yes, of course they are. I think that...
Showing you different stories that they want you to...
Yeah, I think that the producers script how they would like a scenario to go, and then they're putting people in those scenarios that they are creating. Did you ever watch Jury Duty?
No.
Do you know what it was?
I don't.
You never heard of Jury Duty?
I haven't, no.
Oh, you have to watch it. Jury Duty is about a guy who gets selected.
Brought it up on the podcast.
He gets selected for jury duty.
But he's the only one
He's the only one who is playing jury.
Yeah, it's like the Truman Show, but
yes,
in a jury, yeah.
Everyone else is a paid actor. So they script scenarios, but then they get his reaction out of it.
Right.
So his reaction to everything is real. I mean, in this one it was.
Okay.
Now, reality TV, I'm sure that there are certain characters within it who are part of the script trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like, hey, we're going to create this and hope that this is the scenario that happens. So yes, I think that the producers are curating what's going to happen. That is my take on it. I think that's why other people like it.
You think these people's reactions are genuine?
I don't know about genuine in the sense that the people in reality TV are genuine people.
See, I just don't think people are very Like you're on camera, so you're eliciting.
Totally. That's what
you're trying to get a certain response.
It's more real than an Office episode.
Maybe.
And oftentimes you find people like, so for example, let's get back to this mom talk.
Yeah, but we'll go back to it.
Secret Life of Mormon Wives. These were regular people. They're not famous people.
Yeah.
I mean, they were maybe TikTok famous. But anyways, the reason why I want to bring it up, there is somewhat of a marketing lesson, or not even a marketing lesson, maybe a marketing lesson, but I want to give a kudos to Hulu. Because Hulu took something that took the entire world by storm 2 years ago by this woman who was like this bombshell here in Utah of this woman who was soft swinging that blew up TikTok. No one had answers to exactly what had happened. And Hulu came in and said, hey, I would probably say Hulu of all the people is one of the more struggling streaming services. Except for the only reason I would say not is at least
they're owned by Disney. So.
For original content.
Oh, maybe.
Right? For original stuff. Because they'll do like the ESPN.
I'm not educated enough on that, but I think all the streaming services are struggling.
But they hit a home run. They hit a home run because they said, hey, these ladies have distribution. They know how to get attention. Now can they get attention? Whether it's ethical or whether you believe that it's okay or how they do it and is up to you. But they got distribution.
So
they hit on emotion. Because what's the emotion? Like everyone was wildly curious about this, right? Like, hey, whatever happened to that Mormon soft swinger? Like it seemed like everyone got divorced. There was like 30 moms a part of this group. Was it all of them?
Yeah,
so there was like
people got really into it.
Ton of unanswered, and it was like international news. It wasn't national news. It was international news. Okay,
it was international.
It was international news for sure.
Crazy.
So they got the distribution. They hit on an emotion, which we talk about all the time. The emotion on that one, I think, would be curiosity, and then there's the value factor. You got to provide some sort of value, which was entertainment.
Didn't they have like a company at the time back then?
A company? Who?
They had an e-commerce company.
Like who did?
One of them. I don't know. It's like called Happy Valley or something.
Maybe. I know one of them does hair extensions, and this is one we have to clip, by the way. She has a hair extensions company.
Yeah.
And she has billboards all over, and her hair extension company is Jay-Z Hair.
I know.
And so it reads like Jizz hair.
I know. Every time I go by it, I'm like, that is the most
like the
absurd
worst
name you
billboard
could have ever come up with for hair extensions.
Utah billboard. It's Jay-Z Hair. Anyways, it ended up smashing any record Hulu's ever put out from a show they produced. It's got the most views. Yes.
That's verifiable?
I saw it on Yahoo News.
Okay.
So I only believe Yahoo. Only.
I mean, I didn't know Yahoo was still around. Okay.
Not to mention, the other thing that was crazy is it was announced like early to mid-July and launched early September, the actual series. And within that like less than 30-day time period, if you typed in Secret Life of Mormon Wives, hundreds of millions of views of people talking about it. So they just like, Hulu just tapped in on something that was almost just like low-hanging fruit just sitting there, and how the other streaming services or MTV or how they didn't, like, that seems like an MTV thing. Like MTV should have done that. You know, how they didn't. So it was a huge win for Hulu. I think they've already confirmed a second.
I really don't like MTV either.
They've confirmed a second season, I believe. I think so. That I did not get on Yahoo News. So I don't know how true that one is. Massive win for Hulu.
Sad.
Bravo to them. I watched 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes of the first episode as a reality TV person because I felt like I just had to see what was going on. And it was so painfully awful to me.
Oh, it's not intriguing?
Not at all. It was bad. It was so dumb. I thought it was so stupid. And I'm sure people are going to be like, how dare you? Because people are blowing up saying they love it.
Oh, really? There's a lot of people that love it.
A lot of people loved it, yeah.
They love the drama.
Yeah, I thought it was boring.
People love a little drama.
I thought it was boring, and I thought it was very high schoolish. Like it didn't feel, and it felt like I could have just. I know for a fact that in that 30 minutes I could have walked up to every single one of them and said, "Hey, you know what? I'd make your life just like a little bit better if you just did this." That's what I just kept thinking. I'm like, I could just come to her right now and be like, hey, you'd be happier if you did. You wouldn't feel so dramatic if you didn't do this. That's how I felt.
You know, the most reality TV I've ever watched is I was flipping through the channels and I watched a reunion of Vanderpump Rules.
I never watched it, but I know what you're talking about.
Because you went
to high school with one of them, right?
Not to high school, but yeah, I knew her.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Lala Kent.
That's right.
She's great. She really is. Like, I really like her, but I watched it and it was like, oh, this is what reality TV is. Like, it was just like a bunch of fighting, like in a reunion show. I'm like,
Yeah. Well, let's close the gap on this reality TV. 3 things that I wanted to talk about. Emotion.
Well, that's pretty much all reality TV taps into is it's like a lot of emotion, right? Yep. Like
the curiosity. Like, hey, this seems like I'm really curious about their lives. That's generally the emotion I feel like reality TV show and intrigue brings.
Yeah, they just kind of tap into that like primal monkey brain, like where you want to eavesdrop on a neighbor.
Totally. Gossipy. They didn't even have to figure out distribution because they just found people who had it. So hey,
it was already viral on TikTok.
Oh yeah. Well, not only was it viral on TikTok, but like the word secret, the word Mormon, and the word wife together. Like those are the 3 most clickbaity words ever. Like you add those 3 things together.
A wife?
When you add them together, not the word wife. Like wife is not clickbait.
Okay.
But when you add like secret, Mormon, wife, that's
people are going to be interested.
Clickbait. Massive. Yeah. People are intrigued with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon religion.
They are.
Yeah. Win for them.
Waiting for the Hulu series.
And then you add drama, right? As a little cherry on top.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the Hulu series around soaking. So,
yeah, maybe it'll come up.
Well, it's crazy though, because like everyone acts like it's a big deal, but like soaking is great. I don't know why people are so upset about it. In fact,
what are you doing?
In fact, whenever it's my turn at night, I always go to soaking, and my wife hates it, but there's no better way to clean off dishes than to let them soak in the kitchen sink for a little while.
I feel like I'm blushing right now.
Why? What do you think soaking is?
I just didn't know where you were going to go with it. Oh. I'm sweating. my brow is sweating here. I'm glad we got these napkins.
Dude, yeah. Soaking is a tried and true practice. It works.
Yeah, soaking the dishes are great. I do the same thing.
It's like a slow cooker, but for cleaning.
Yep.
Leave it in there for an hour, and then you come back, and there's no scrubbing.
On that note, we'll be done with a reality TV segment of pop cultural moments. But I think there's some good marketing lessons in there. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, human emotion, drama,
distribution,
clickbait.
It's big stuff.
How can you introduce more clickbait into your advertising?
Yeah. And how can you tailor that into the right audience too, right? Yeah. They knew who the audience was going to be. So speaking of audiences, new topic.
Speaking of audiences, let's do an election update. No, just kidding. So
no, but we do want to talk about that. Right?
Yeah, we are talking about the election for sure right now. So I think what's interesting right now is, yes, the election's going to affect advertising. Mostly, it looks like it's going to be mostly swing states though. Based off of the numbers I'm polling and the expenditures going into swing states, it looks like if you're an e-commerce company and you have a big profile of advertising in a swing state, like you're going to get hit more than if you're a little bit more,
for sure,
not in neutral states, but just states that are already decided. Like for example, we're in Utah. Trump and Harris are not spending any money or time in Utah.
Sure, yeah, they already know who's getting Utah. Well,
but if you're in Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania or Ohio, and that's where a large subset of your customers are, I think you're going to get hit a lot harder. So yes, you just have more advertising in general. There's local races too, but what I want to talk about more specifically is the difference in the way the Harris campaign is approaching advertising and the way that the Trump campaign is approaching marketing. I should say marketing, not just advertising.
Yeah,
marketing.
Can I say one thing?
Because they have two very different approaches.
Very much so. Can I say one thing in between to talk about how it's going to impact people?
Yes.
One thing I just did was I went back and I've gone back and looked at every account we have access to. And I went in and aggregated CPMs over the last, I want to say, like 4 months, just to see, are we seeing a trend increase?
For sure.
And what was that? Does that same trend follow last year? Okay. You can't go back 4 years in Meta.
No, they cut it.
Yep. Which sucks because I wanted to go back in Meta. Anyways, whatever. For at least accounts that we're looking at. This time last year, or the same thing, CPMs across all the accounts almost stayed the exact same. Let's say it was $11. Okay. Now they're up, like it's up to $14, I think. So one, just year over year, it's up.
Year over year, it's up.
For sure. It was up, I want to say, from $11 to $14. But from June to now, it starts at 14 and the average is about $17 now. So things are rising, whether that is from, and it starts mid-August. That's when you start to see it rise, is mid-August. So if you are seeing things and things are feeling tighter,
they're going to happen.
That's what's happening.
But
so
I think it's
going
to hit harder in swing states.
I agree with that.
Because that's where most of the, at least presidential spend is.
Yep. Sorry.
But anyways.
Proceed. We want to talk about the differences between how
marketing
Donald
tactics.
Trump is using his marketing tactics and if that's a good thing for what he needs to accomplish versus what Kamala Harris is doing with her marketing tactics. Yes.
Okay. So anyways, the Harris
Vice
campaign
President Harris
is doing far more of what you would call like a traditional approach. Okay, so you can compare this to the e-commerce company where the founder doesn't really want to be in the limelight all the time.
Yep.
Like, yes, she's doing like a few interviews and stuff, but they're running big TV ads and they're doing more like really curated. It's very curated traditional settings.
Yep.
That's what the Harris campaign is doing. So there's not a lot of like off the cuff stuff. It's not, I would call more of like an organic viral strategy.
Yep.
Where the Trump campaign is taking a far more like new age approach.
Very much so.
Like more of a TikTok approach.
Yes.
Which is, if I read this right, the Harris campaign has done, I think 3 interviews now.
Okay.
Total.
Yeah, it's
but
not a lot.
only with mainstream media.
And generally more so left-leaning mainstream media.
Right.
Right.
So mainstream media, like she's going to the traditional broadcasters and she's doing a few interviews. Same with Walz.
Yep.
Where the Trump campaign has done seemingly countless interviews with podcasters.
Yep.
And they've gone on
countless interviews.
Now, Trump has not done any big interviews, I don't think, to this date with the main broadcasters.
Like a lot of the mainstream media. You've seen, I think, his running mates.
His running mates done a lot, but Trump has done a lot of podcasts and rallies.
Yep, rallies,
right?
Podcasts. He's been on with like
and
Elon Musk,
TikTok,
Twitter,
X Lives,
X
or
Lives,
X Spaces.
Spaces, that's what it's called. Yes.
So he's done some X Spaces. He just did one with like a crypto. Influencer.
Yes.
He's gone on. Was it like the Nelk Boys?
Yeah.
He was on Theo Vaughn.
Lex Friedman. He was on Aiden Ross,
who's a streamer.
Who's a big streamer. And then he was on Logan Paul's podcast as well.
Oh, that's right. He did Logan Paul and Jake Paul, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
which have all those podcasts are some of the biggest podcasts right now in the world.
And they have a huge Gen Z following, which is interesting.
Massive Gen Z following.
So if you would have asked me, because what politicians do in these campaigns is similar to your business. They look at the demographics, they look at who their core base is, and then they say, who can we, because really every presidential election is decided by this little group called independents, and then you can sway some right? From like the right side or the left side over, depending on the situation. But they're trying to get these independents to vote for them. So who's my base and how do I not alienate my base?
Sure.
You always talk about that. Don't alienate your base. So when they're asked certain questions about certain policies, they'll often just talk around it because they don't want to be pinned down to upset their, quote, base.
Yeah.
So now they're trying to get this other group. So if I would have said, hey, who is this group of people that they're trying to get, right? So Harris campaign, they're going traditional media. I mean, who watches traditional media at this point, right? Like you're thinking probably 35 and older, maybe 45 and older.
Yeah. I would probably say you got to be 40 plus because I'm 35 and older and I never.
Yeah.
I mean,
people aren't watching the news the way they used to.
I consume news through Twitter and through TikTok.
Right.
You know, never do I turn my TV on.
And
unless
so
it's for the presidential
I would have
debate.
just thought, I don't know, I would have thought that maybe Harris would be more of the podcast because she would have been trying to rally up the young demographic, or she already established that the young demographic, she's got more of the young demographic.
That's the question, right? So the young demographic are really generally interested in two big things, right? Climate control and oftentimes abortion.
Actually, it's split into two, right? Because you do have females versus males.
That are interested in different things.
Yes.
But they say that those are two of the bigger hot things that the Gen Z world is very interested in, right? And so she feels like
is that she feels like that's her base, so
maybe she feels like she doesn't need it.
Reach out to the older, because she's trying to fight like a left, like she's trying to fight off the image that she's ultra left wing.
Correct. No, I should say right. Correct.
So she's trying to come across as I can be moderate.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a smart campaign strategy to say I want to go traditional to try to influence people that are in the boomer to Gen X
who tend to
older
more
millennials.
What a Trump might voter be. A Trump voter maybe.
Yeah, just like I'd say more of just like an older, more traditional subset.
Now what Harris does do well, and I don't know if this is something Harris does do well or if just naturally this group of people tends to lean more left, therefore they support Harris, which is more of the celebrity world.
And she has celebrity endorsements.
Yes, she has traditional, but she also kind of has this like, it might be more, influencers might be like traditional new age, right? It's like traditional new age. I wouldn't
see a celebrity. Yeah, you do have to almost bucket them in two different things because I would say celebrities are more of a traditional strategy.
Sure.
From advertising.
Sure.
Like you're going to get a celebrity.
Yeah, this is the face of our campaign.
To do a cologne with, right?
Ken Griffey is going to be on the box of Wheaties.
Yes.
Yes. That's fair enough. I agree with that.
Yeah.
So she's got the celebrities, right, that are coming out and speaking. And a lot of times celebrities can speak to the Gen Z audience because they look to her, right? You just saw.
Like the Billie Eilish.
Yeah, well, you just saw Taylor Swift. What did she just come out and announce? Yeah. Right? Huge endorsement for Harris. And she has an audience of massive Gen Z. Yeah, I mean, her audience actually is a really big audience, right? You're getting 40-year-old moms, 50-year-old moms.
Yeah, you've got a good...
And their 13-year-old daughters.
Now, obviously, with politics, it's a little different than products because we all know why. But it is interesting to think about. Yeah, she has a huge reach and audience and dedicated following to her. So that's a big one.
That could be a smart thing of hers, like, hey, I don't need to go put as much time into this audience because my celebrity group of people are talking to those people.
But see, what's interesting about the Hulu example is you have this new age form of media, which is social media.
Mm-hmm.
And the Harris campaign is far more scripted, right? It's a little bit more of a scripted, hey, we're going to follow the script. We're going to present what we want to present.
We're going to control the narrative.
Yes.
Right? Very much so.
The Trump campaign seems like far less of that.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like, oh, we'll just go on all these podcasts. Let's talk with all these new age. Because again, when you're talking about why are movies suffering or like why are Hollywood studios suffering, it's because, in my opinion, people just don't consume media the same way.
They're not taking the new age approach to advertising their movies.
Like reality TV, as much as I despise it, really was a foreshadow of social media content and creators.
Totally. Totally.
And it still is that. I mean, now you're just seeing, as Hulu did, they just pluck them out of the social ether and then just plug them into a reality TV show. And that's probably how they're going to get new shows made from now on, is you're just finding what's viral and you just go grab them.
This bodes well for Trump, I think, to go in this direction, simply because he is so known to say things that just shock you, right? He says it. He may say stuff that is true, but he says it in a shocking manner, right? So like one of those, like a good example of this is in the debate. If anyone watched the debate, there was one thing that he said that has gone completely viral online, which was, they're eating the cats and dogs, right? And if you heard like this is like a TikTok trend now. And now what's happening is everybody is putting like a funny face to their dog or their cat
and reacting to it.
And like, so the dog will be something like this. It'll be like, you know, his eyes are kind of like looking at like away from the camera while he's saying they're eating the cats and dogs. But that's Trump's strategy, right? At least I think it is. I think he says things in the ways he does, because he knows he's got a really good chance of going viral and everybody's doing it, you know? And now what's actually happening is there's tons of people who are fact checking to be like, hey, actually, like, he seems like he was right. There are videos of these people doing that kind of stuff, you know? Whether it's happening all the time or just once, who knows? But
yeah, well, it's interesting. So if you go back to July, I don't know when Harris, after his assassination attempt, he peaked. Harris peaked in July, and now this month they're both at a 16.
It is hard to understand Google. There's
also hard because I'm trying to do it apples to apples and compare Donald Trump to Kamala Harris. But
yeah, you don't know which ones.
But people don't search Donald; they search Trump.
They're going to search Trump. Yeah. So I would put Trump.
And if you put Trump, it's
light years ahead.
Years ahead of her full name. But that's what's hard, is like, because people don't search.
Well, what you probably could do is you could probably do Trump.
Maybe they search for her
Kamala
first
Harris,
name.
put VP Harris, and put just Kamala, and see, because you'll see it on different graphs and see.
And then you'll see like who.
Because I don't think anyone's putting Donald J. Trump in. I think they're just going to put Trump. But yeah, he's going on the Theo Von podcast. He's going on the Lex Friedman. He's going on Spaces with Elon Musk. He's doing these new age things that just gives him more opportunity for other people. I mean, a huge thing that's happening right now, a massive thing that's happening right now in the social media sphere. It's like social media reporting. Have you guys know what I'm talking about?
So if you add them all together, if you're looking at this graph, Trump is kind of came back even over the last couple of months, but so far in September, Trump in Google search terms is far ahead. So he's at a 35. Just the term Trump.
Just the term Trump.
Just the term Kamala is at a 6. Now, if you aggregate their full names too, they both are at a 4. So Donald Trump would be at a 39. And then if I did Kamala and Harris as two separate terms, which is 16. So that brings her out to 20, and that brings Donald Trump out to almost 40.
So he's double
the search
but it's
interest.
because he's giving.
Now, obviously, none of this is positive, all positive for both of them, but just to give you an idea.
Yeah. This is something we're just looking at. But I think part of the reason why he's being searched significantly more is because he's putting himself out there in these new age ways that you get these people who are like coming on and being like, hey, I want to create a video of this video that Donald Trump was around. But you're not seeing enough videos, I think, of Kamala for that kind of stuff to happen, right? Because she's not doing the podcast interviews. She's not doing those things. Whereas I can get on and be like, hey, did you just hear what Theo Von just said about Donald Trump? And people like that kind of content creation gets
There's
massive
far
views.
more virality around that for sure.
Totally. Now there's also, on the flip side, we've been talking really positive for
positive in the sense of like he's getting
this is smart.
He's getting a lot more reach.
Yep. The negative is he's being put in so many more situations to say something that
which he has a history of saying things that are very dumb at times.
Which is
and
generally,
when I say dumb, I'm not we're not taking a political stance here. What we're saying is stuff that can always be misconstrued, whether you believe it or not, stuff that's offensive or deemed as offensive.
Yes.
It's just, he's a polarizing figure.
For sure.
And the debate's still out on whether he does that on purpose or not.
Yeah.
Like, is that just who he is and he talks like that, or does he do it because he knows it creates those moments?
Yeah. So the con, right? The pro is,
but we don't want to delve into like intentions. We're trying to just look at strategies.
The pro is that you've got more chances to go viral, and it seems now you also have 2 assassination attempts on the man, which is going to lift.
Well, the highest peak of interest in him was right after the first assassination attempt.
Yeah. So that's going to obviously.
And then there was another assassination attempt this
recently.
month.
Yep. But it also puts you in a scenario where, like you said, you could say some really he could say some off-color stuff that could. Right now, there's this thing going on called Trump deranged syndrome. Is that what it is? TDS.
Trump derangement syndrome.
Derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
Yes.
TDS.
Where people are so engulfed in how he says and what he says things that they just cannot get past it. Right.
Well, because he's so polarizing with the way he presents it.
Yeah, it can be
a
very
great
rude,
example of that polarization, which from a branding perspective, let's just assume he's doing it on purpose.
Sure.
For a moment.
Okay.
So for our listeners, what he does, if this is on purpose, is it's really smart from a marketing perspective, because you draw this line in the sand and then it calls all of this attention to this thing. Because, for example, he said they're eating the cats and dogs, and everyone said that's crazy, that's stupid, right? There's not a ton of evidence out there that they're eating cats and dogs. There's not.
Like evidence meaning you've got footage of somebody actually in the act of doing it.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't think there is any footage of it happening in Springfield, Ohio. Sure. But what it did is it created this moment, this polarizing moment, where people now are investigating, well, what are the impacts of what he's saying?
Yeah.
And there's negative ramifications, there's positive, whatever you believe. But the point is if he does that on purpose, some people claim he does, because what it does is it creates these moments where people go, oh, let's draw the line in the sand and fight each other over it. And from a marketing perspective, we talk about that all the time. Like, you draw a line in the sand. We're not saying to like just make something up, but what we are saying is, hey, there's these moments where you can really galvanize people around your cause, and you can do it in a way that, like, that's kind of a clickbait way to do it, right?
When you draw a line in the sand, it forces you to take a side.
Yeah.
Right? So the moment you start saying polarizing things, I hate such and such, you're an idiot if you do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You start to draw this line in this. So, for example, I hate reality TV. You either like it or you hate it now. So which side are you going to pick?
Definitely hate it.
Right? Are you team Trevor or are you team Mark?
Don't watch reality TV, people.
Right? But you have to start to do it. So
for sure.
I know we talk about this all the time, but that was like one of the things that that Leo Olson guy said is like, draw lines in the sand, like say polarizing things. He says, I think he put it as create an enemy.
Create an enemy.
Yeah, create an enemy.
And
like, who's your enemy and go against it? Is it against another brand?
Or is it against a
belief system?
Like, for example, we're consulting right now with someone who just went through this exercise of creating an enemy. And it was beautiful to see it play out of like, okay, this is what we're attacking and this is why.
Yeah.
Because for them, it was like, hey, we just have a better product, period. So why aren't we going after these people that have an inferior product?
Totally.
But are outworking us from marketing.
Have more dollars than us.
So it's like, why aren't we doing anything that galvanizes anybody? Or why don't we turn this into a movement against, hey, that's a crappy product. Here's why. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
This is like a terrible product for you.
Yeah.
Here's our solution for it. And it's like, do that. More people should do that. If you have a good product and you can stand by it, then you should run comparisons. Like, you should educate people on why your product is better.
And maybe
I've heard some people say, oh, us versus them ads. Like some Twitter people say
Bush League.
I've seen us versus them ads work phenomenally.
I love them. especially if you're the underdog.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're going up against, I don't know, let's say you're going up against Nike, you will never have, like, if I'm an emerging shoe company and I'm going up against Nike, like there are people who,
unless for some reason your style is just the best thing in the world that nobody.
Yeah, but there are athletic, I won't just say running because I know you and me got in an argument about, Nike being a running company versus just an athletic. So like, let's just say athletic shoes, right?
Okay.
There are athletic savants who are like Nike's garbage. Like they're like, this is a group of people who think like, they think that Nike's just for the beginner, the greenie, whatever you want to call them.
Like runners?
Yes, runners and basketball athletes anyway. So they want to go for these like people who are creating stuff that's a little bit more specialized, So you could turn Nike into that enemy, right? And you are immediately going to identify with those people who've drawn a line in the sand for themselves. And you might actually start to educate other people to be like, wait, I always thought Nike was awesome.
Well, yeah, and also just the very simple fact that if you're a nobody, then why should anyone care about you?
Yeah.
The easiest way for someone to care about you is if you say, hey, this is why I'm better than what you've been using.
Totally.
It's the easiest, quickest way to do it.
Yeah.
And you galvanize people for sure. Yeah. So, but anyways, going back to the subject, it's this new age approach versus the traditional approach. I don't think one's wrong, but I do think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this election plays out over the next couple of months because, hey, they're going to start spending more ads in ads over the next 40 days. Because what are we, 45 days out?
Something almost like that, yeah.
So ad spend will go up. CPMs will go up for sure. I think it'll affect, they're going to spend the most in swing states.
Sure.
However, let's start looking at how much they're spending over the next couple of weeks. We want to do like an election update of how much they're spending each campaign in Meta, TikTok, how they're spending it.
Yeah.
And we're trying to aggregate these results too, and maybe we can predict who the winner will be before, just based off of like some kind of analysis, right?
Well,
what are the total amount of impressions that Trump gets from people on Twitter, for example?
And we'll just have to
how many does Harris get?
We'll make our predictions of just what we think also based off their marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's all it'll be is like marketing campaigns plus
the somewhat data you can gather.
Can we aggregate data that's not surveys and polls?
Yeah, because we know that those can be
because we already see the polls.
Yeah.
And
how often does somebody say somebody's up
this
high, but then the other person ends up winning? And
but it'll be interesting to see how these play out because Harris does not have a lot of face time.
But on the flip side, she
has a
controls
narrative of when she does have it.
Well, not only that, but she also, I was just thinking about this. She doesn't have a lot of face time, but maybe because she doesn't need it as much. Because when you add all the media outlets together, there's really only one that's against her.
I mean, that's verifiably true. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And I don't think that's a, hey, Trevor, you're biased.
That's like if you look at the coverage of one versus the other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So does she not need it as much because she's got these 7 media outlets who are doing it for her? And that's part of her strategy.
See,
is it part of it? I don't know.
See, but that's again, like how many people watch those networks now?
You're right.
And are those swing voters, like, does it matter?
Totally.
Is she getting the message out? Is she showing who she is? Because right now it's like surrogates that are talking for her.
Well, the polls are already out that every media outlet, both left and right, are down.
Yes.
Right?
They're down year over year.
But when you add all of them together.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, it matters, but that's not... Again, that's the question is what...
Exactly. I'm not saying this is the right thing to do for her by any means.
For her, I look at her and I say, like, if I was consulting her, I would say, we live in the day of TikTok and Instagram.
Totally.
And the news cycle is so fast, it doesn't matter if you say something can be misconstrued or whatever. Like, what matters is that you are top of mind.
Yes. I agree. I totally agree.
Right?
Like I said, I say whatever you want about him. I'm not sitting here saying that Donald Trump is the best guy. I'm not saying that
I know what
at
you're
all.
saying.
I am saying, like, the man. But I've said this since
controlled. He knows how to get attention and control attention.
I said this in 2020. Now I can say it a little bit more freely without people wanting to cancel and kill me. But I've always said that Trump is a marketing genius. I've always said it.
Well,
I'm not saying that
you don't build what he's built without being a salesman, a great salesman, and a great marketer. He's doing it
because guess what? Everyone talks about him, even the people that hates him.
Well, his name is always top of mind.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you just look at Google Trends.
From a political perspective, though, in 2020, sometimes being top of mind can be negative.
Of course it can.
Not all press is good press. Now, some people argue that, but in a political campaign, that's a little different, right? Because you have to win over a certain amount of people.
For sure.
However, just from a marketing perspective, yes, I think the Trump campaign has been interesting to watch because of all the podcasts, because of all of this new age guerrilla stuff. And that's really where a lot of the attention is now. Like Logan Paul, think about how much attention that guy gets.
Totally. A lot.
On a daily basis, he gets more attention than I would say Taylor Swift does. People listen to Taylor Swift's music.
On a daily basis, yes.
But on a daily basis.
When Taylor's doing something important, probably not.
Right.
Yeah.
But on a daily basis, people tune into that group of people.
Yeah.
Every day, every other day, weekly.
Yeah.
And hear them and watch them.
Well, same with the Theo Von. The Theo Von one was brilliant.
Like Theo Von.
Because you've got two people who say the craziest stuff in the world on a podcast together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like everyththis that comes out of Theo Von's mouth is viral.
And from a marketing perspective, I just think it'll be interesting to see how the elections play out. This isn't like a direct comparison to business, but what you can take from a business perspective is Trump is always top of mind. There's a lot of advertising spend that's going into this campaign. So you have to spend ads. Ads are important. Usually who spends the most in ads is favored because they're top of mind. Is his approach of getting virality and going down these other paths, is this going to
sway voters
away from him? And it'll be interesting to see. And for businesses, is that the approach that a lot of businesses need to be taking too? Do you have to spend ads? That's just what it is. Sorry.
Yep.
Business is hard. Ads isn't a silver bullet, but you have to be in the ad game. But is there a way to get an undercurrent of attention?
A good example of this right now. Have you heard about what Nutter Butter's doing with their social media?
Yes, because of you.
Just look at this, because Nutter Butter just recently, they're up to 615,000 followers, 4.3 million likes. Okay. But everything is getting 7 million, 2 million, 1.8 million. But just look at how crazy this is. What is this? It's the weirdest TikTok.
Who took over their account?
Oh, it's some Gen Z kid, but I'm bringing this up because the question I have for Nutter Butter, this goes back to not all attention is good attention. Just because you can gain attention, and this is what Trump has got, what's going to have to...
Which we'll see play out or
not. Exactly, what we'll see play out or not is he definitely has more attention than Kamala.
Yes, he does.
The question is, does that
translate into sales or in his case votes?
Whereas in Nutter Butter's case, they are getting the attention of everyone. And also the other thing that's happening is people are coming out and they're giving their take on what the hell is this Nutter Butter? People are freaking out about how it almost looks like the person who's operating it is high while they're doing it. It's very stroby and lighty and stuff like that. Is Nutter Butter seeing sales?
That's a good question.
I don't know. Now, in Alex MacArthur's words, search follows sales.
Yeah, so if you take trends...
So does search follow votes? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little different with votes because it's a little bit bigger and more sensitive of a topic than buying a Nutter Butter.
It is.
But look at this, Nutter Butter.
But it isn't at the same time. It's a vote. You're not spending money.
When did this start with them?
I don't know. All I know is it's recently popped up on mine.
Because in the last 30 days, oh wow. Dude, Nutter Butter has gone from a 14 to a 100.
On Google Trends.
On Google Trends.
I believe it 100%.
I mean, literally. I mean, they went as high as you can possibly go on September 16th, and it only took them, it was 3 days. And they're
like,
still at an 80.
When you go to like last year, like March of last year, they're getting 7,000 views, 14,000 views. And then if you go to the last 50 videos, nothing, very rarely is anything under 1 million.
That's incredible.
I shouldn't say that.
But does it actually
under 100,000?
What is? I mean, I don't think. When did I have a Nutter Butter?
Nutter Butters are decent.
I honestly can't tell you when I last had a Nutter Butter.
Oh yeah, well they're such a The other thing that's funny about a Nutter Butter.
What is a Nutter Butter?
A Nutter Butter is a boomer cookie.
Isn't it like it's waffly thing with some peanut butter in it?
Yeah, this is like my dad's. I can't remember if my dad's a boomer or Gen X.
He's a boomer.
Okay, I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
This Nutter Butter's a boomer candy for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe Gen X, but not millennial. Like we had them in our house only because my dad loved them. It's like saying it's like saying that classic rock, like millennials like classic rock, but it's only because the boomer parents
would listen to
who were listening to Journey passed it down to them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Like no one's just being like, dude, have you ever heard of Journey before? You know? You ever listen to Aerosmith? Unless you had a parent.
So, yeah, Journey's so much better than Aerosmith, though. Aerosmith has like 2 songs.
I agree. But I do like Aerosmith. Journey was like the like
Journey's got like
that was like
better catalog.
For sure. That was like everyday music in my house.
Really?
As a kid.
Yeah.
America, Boston, Journey. Like that's what I grew up with. Van Halen,
Boston,
Pink Floyd. My mom was like more like
Journey,
AC/DC, Styx. No. My dad was Styx. My dad was like the softer classic rock. My mom was the harder classic rock.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's kind of how we operated in the house.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Rolling Stones.
The Beatles.
Well, we'll see. We'll see who's gonna win.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll give our predictions here.
Yeah, let's look at the trends. But yes,
sales follow search
and interest, and so it'll be fascinating to see. I mean, we could even break down if anyone's interested. We'd love to break down their ads because I think there's actually
we should actually do that in the next podcast.
What's really interesting about their ad approach too is if you look at both of their ads and their campaigns and their message, right? Like the Kamala campaign is really focused on this idea of an aspirational future. But that's what they're selling in the ad. Like they both have messages of doing something different and making America better or whatever you want to, they both kind of say that, but their approach of presenting and their messaging is very different.
Yeah, everyone's saying, hey, we want things to be better. They're both saying the same thing.
But
we're going to make things better.
One is saying, hey, things are bad now.
Yes.
The other one is not saying that.
Yeah.
And again, yes, we understand there's like political implications to why each of them take these stances, and you guys can argue about that. But it is interesting because that's the whole question, right? Does fear sell, or does aspiration sell?
Yeah, that's a good podcast topic.
Yeah, it's heaven or hell. Like
breaking down different. I like it. Does hope sell, or does fear sell?
Yeah, because you look at the Obama campaign, and that absolutely sold this like whole aspirational, cultural movement.
How do you parent? Do you parent based off hope or fear?
Depends on how tired I am, honestly.
Yeah, that's actually a good answer. Depends what time of day. Morning, dude, I'm all about hope. Guys, today's gonna be an awesome day. Oh, if you guys all get your stuff like together, we'll be able to go throw the baseball around before school.
Yeah.
Get your shoes on. Like night, it's like
8.
Dude, if you're not
just get
done,
in bed,
if you're not out of the shower by 9 o'clock, bro, you don't get to play with friends tomorrow. It's like a complete reverse.
I think it's both though. Like you just have to have both in parenting, but in marketing you have to have both too.
Yeah.
And so
depends on the product significantly.
It is interesting just to think about like, how does that message resonate with people? Because also when people are hearing these messages, they have real life experiences that they're measuring those messages to.
Yeah.
And as a company, when you play with that messaging, you have to realize like you can't just gaslight people into thinking a situation that's not necessarily a lived experience or something they can relate to from their perception.
So who are you voting for?
Voting for me.
All right, everybody. I like that. Let's end there.
Okay.
DM Mark, though. Ask him who he's voting for. See if you can get out of him.
DM me.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening wherever you are coming from. We love you, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Unstoppable Marketer podcast. Please go rate and subscribe the podcast, whether it's good or bad. We want to hear from you because we always want to make this podcast better. If you want to get in touch with me or give me any direct feedback, please go follow me and get in touch with me. I am at the Trevor Crump on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you, and we will see you next week.